Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Hey, it's Leif Gamfert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldavar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Rory Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Rory, and joining me is co-host Máirín. And also joining us today is a very special guest. We have actor Alaa Safi, best known for playing the Tall Zealot in Doctor Strange, Vulture in Chinese Zodiac, Imad in Dare to be Wild, Berouz in All Three of Us, Iron Legs fighter in Mercury Man, poker player in Brotherhood of Tears, Omar's crew in Traitor and Anwar in Transport of the Series. How are you today, Alaa?
Sorry, no, that was Máirín. That's me. Hey guys, hi everyone, and I'm doing great, guys. I'm great here. Just greetings from I'm in Sicily at the moment, just staying warm. So and I'm really happy to be here, be able to connect and have a chat with you guys. So
you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Same here. Great pleasure.
And I hope you're enjoying your time in
Oh
Sicily.
yeah, loving it. The sun and the food, always. That's two ingredients, never to miss out on.
Definitely, I completely agree. But getting to the questions, Alaa, for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with your background, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Well, that's a very long and strange story, but I guess I've been wondering really. It can be a difficult question, because it's a very unconscious, I would say, decision or outcome. I'm French, and I was born and raised in France, but I've got a Moroccan heritage, and I know that it's very Mediterranean to just kind of be very interesting storytelling and kind of making impressions and being kind of always in kind of on stage almost. You're always. There's like this thing of like when you're with your family or friends or even with strangers, it's like this. It's very much about that, and that every time I go back to Morocco, it's like you've got the greatest comics out there. Comedians, not comics. That's a different word for later. But yeah, a lot of greatest comedians everywhere in the street or in the houses and stuff. And I think I've always been fascinated by just putting a mask and being a different person and really kind of playing with that. Because for that moment you just forget about yourself and you forget about your self-consciousness and all the the bollocks that comes with it. So I would say then that's pretty much the reason. But then how I came to acting was through martial arts, practicing to becoming a stuntman for fun initially, and then taking it more seriously, and then falling in love with acting just as I was watching the greatest actors on the sets that I was working on, and feeling like I wanted to kind of get closer to that and do what those guys were doing. So that's I think that would be the most honest answer. And then it's one of the greatest jobs in the world, really. You have the weirdest schedules, the weirdest conditions, and you get to meet the most lovely people around the world. Really, you're always traveling. You're always, and ever since I was a kid, just watching the films that I used to watch, and to see the films that I'm very privileged to take part in today. It's like that's fulfilling my dreams, really, back then. But I had no idea when I was a kid or even a teenager that I was gonna do any of this, really. So here we are.
Absolutely, that's a really great story, and it's great that martial arts got you into acting as well, and we'll be talking more about your martial arts work as well, because obviously you're not just an actor, but don't worry about the fact that you mixed up comics and comedians. It's not the worst mistake that
I have
we've
no
had.
idea why. It's just really strange. Oops, that's another one. Yeah, it's
Pun intended. Yeah, I just had to come in with that. Yeah. Anyway, talking of strange, because it's going to be a very strange show today. Unfortunately, I was beaten to that pun. I apologise for being a little slow off the mark, listeners. But how were you originally cast as the Tall Zealot in Doctor Strange? And that's what your character was credited as in the end credits, the Tall Zealot.
Yeah, I know. You might not notice it now, but I'm not that tall, and I thought,
I know, I was looking at some pictures and I was like, why does he get credited as the tall
that's right.
one? You don't actually look that tall
that's
in
right.
pictures.
You see me next to Matt Mikkelsen and you're like, why would he be even called Tall Zealots? That's not, but there's a reason for that, obviously, and the very little that I know of it is that before, I was cast for the film, I think my character, as well as the other followers or disciples, there were different ideas before, and I wouldn't be able to say what or anything, but it's just we ended up having those kind of adjectives to kind of make a difference. So there's the blonde, the brunette. Or the brunette, I can't remember, the strong and the tall. And, well, I was hoping to be the strong, just for the sake of it, without even knowing, what I was going to play yet. But, it's just that the Tall Zealot, just because that's how, they were referring to it in the script initially. And so, yeah, to answer your question, which I didn't forget about, I was cast as a Tall Zealot. Well, it was just, it was a very common, not common, but, just an audition, a simple audition that I went for and in London. And, it was very confidential, no one would say that it was a Marvel, I just went in as, you're going for a top secret project, and there's I think you had like 1 or 2 scenes to prepare. Pretty weird and technical lines to say that those scenes weren't even in the movie at the end. But it was kind of like just to give the idea of what we were going to play, and it was just fun because it was like, oh my God, what is this going to be? Is this a sequel for Matrix? Is it it sounds really, really psychedelic, and so I went in for those scenes. I had no idea how to perform them, to be honest. There was no directions, nothing. But I guess they just wanted to see, how you look and how you speak, how you move. So I went in for that. And at the end of the audition, the casting director just asked me, well, we need the actors to be pretty, a bit physical. And so we were wondering, if you could do any martial arts or anything. If you could just show us some punches or any kicks. to the camera. And I said, yeah, I think I can do that. And luckily I was wearing the right pants that day. We were on the second floor in the office, and I just did a round-off backflip in there. I thought, you're here for what sounds like a great movie, and they're asking you for something you've done all your life. Right now, just go for it. Don't limit yourself. And I did that, and I think they were really scared that I, break something, or I didn't. And they were like, okay, that's interesting. That's good. And I think, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gotten the role, to be honest, because it was very, as you, I'm sure you saw the film, it was very physical. It was very, into all these things. And so I think, that was what, helped got me to play that part, really. So, when I heard the response, that it just said I was being offered the part something like 2 or 3 weeks after, and we started shooting a couple of months later. But it was like, and then it started. I just, I found out way later that it was a Marvel film, that it was Doctor Strange, that it was God. I thought, okay, this is, pressure is on, and but big, huge amount of excitement too. So again, that was starting an amazing adventure right there. So that's the little story behind the cast of my little part.
It's very interesting, and I imagine you were a big Marvel fan based on what you were saying, but were you aware of the Doctor Strange comics themselves prior to your casting?
Well, I'm going to be very honest, I wasn't. I had never heard of Doctor Strange before. I think it's, I don't know if it's, if it's because, I don't know if it's my generation or something, but, I was a huge fan of Spider-Man, and others, and Iron Man, and but Doctor Strange, I didn't know of. I wasn't aware of it. So, of course, when I got the part, I dove into it and did my research, and just completely amazed by how original it was, how different it was from the other comics, and still, you see how it looks on the, in the comics, and you're like, how the hell are they gonna make it look, as interesting as what you see in the comics? It was so insanely looking, and they did an amazing job. I mean, truly, like, I was blown away when I saw the film completely. So, I wasn't aware of it, and but I'm still young, like caught up with it pretty early in my life. So I'm glad that it was, for the occasion of working on the film for it. Yeah.
Definitely, and we were blown away by the film as well. It's definitely great that they managed to capture some of those comic moments on screen. I mean, it was just such a challenging film to make.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, just it's like a big dream, and then you get out of the dream and you're like, I wish I could, get back to it. Who knows? They're gonna, hopefully they're gonna make spin-offs and sequels, prequels. But yeah, it's one of those experiences where you just kind of get out of it, and you just think, that was truly amazing. I'm not sure that really happened. You just stare at the pictures to just remind yourself that it was real. but yeah, no, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Definitely. Now, I understand that outside of acting, you're also a high-level martial artist with several international titles under your belt. Pun intended there, actually. Are there any particular moments where your martial arts skills have come in handy when you worked on Doctor Strange or other films you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, that's the audition that I just told you about. That really, I think that was more than helping me, with getting the part. But then, I mean, the whole filming of Doctor Strange, for a part like the Zealots, at the end it was pretty much about showing up, running around, kicking ass, trying to kick ass, and it was just all about being very physical. And I was initially thinking, because again it was so confidential that was wondering before we got the script. I kept wondering what the character was going to be about, and when I realized it was going to be that physical, it just made it very simple. To be honest, because it is a language that I've used for a long time, and I thought, okay, that's just more or less feeling like a fish in the water. So it really helped me. We had a lot of rehearsing with the other actors, and then on set, you had to just get on with it and be super ready and available, and you had to adapt really quickly, because no matter how much you rehearse, things change a lot on the day. So it really it helped with that, and I think that one, and another film martial arts really helped me with is Chinese Zodiac, which is one of the parts that I'm really proud of, facing Jackie Chan. I never thought that I'd be doing that one day. When I was a kid, I used to watch his films and and just go crazy at him kind of taking on 10 guys at a time and doing it in such a fluent way, and kind of really kind of gracious and kind of floating, dancing almost, ballet, touch to it. And it really helped me there, because when I found out that I was gonna, that I was offered the part to play his rival, I was so scared. I thought, how the hell am I gonna keep up with Jackie Chan? That's Jackie Chan. He's gonna see you're a fraud right from the first minute. And it went really well. And everything, all that kind of training in the background of martial arts really kind of made me feel comfortable on the set. He made me feel comfortable too. And again, it was a matter of language. We were speaking the same language. And on Doctor Strange, it's the same thing. Everyone rehearsed so much that everyone was speaking the same language. It was just a matter of communication. And we were trained to kind of again speak the same language. As there was a specific style of martial arts that we were trained to practice there all together, and we didn't do much of it at the end of the film, but it really helped us to be all together on the same kind of wavelength. So it did help, I guess. Besides martial arts movies, martial arts really helped me on any approach to any character. To me, acting is not being or thinking, is acting, is doing. And so it starts with the body, and the rhythm and the musicality. And so anything that, comes, it's got to, I think it's got to start with the body. That's my opinion. So yeah, it does help me every day, all the way along. That's it's true.
That's a really great answer. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
How would you describe your overall experience working with the cast and crew of Doctor Strange?
Overall, it's I spent almost 7 months on Doctor Strange, working on Doctor Strange, including rehearsals, and we were involved pretty early on. It was in last October, September, October, and we started filming at the end of November, early December, all the way to April, and then we had reshoots again in the summer in LA. It was a huge family, huge machine, and I mean that, the very first days you're quite impressed and almost intimidated by by the proportions really of the job, but then after a few days it just kind of all settles down, and it's just back to the exact same deal with the other movies or different teams or different budgets. Starting with the cast, it was, look at the cast of this film. It's just a 5 stars, cast. Most of them I was a huge fan of myself. I literally finished watching Sherlock before I was offered the part, both Sherlock and Hannibal. So you imagine, my face when when I was offered the part. I was like, "What? That's okay? Really?" Like, I was so excited, and of course that was like so emphasized. I mean, obviously everyone else, that Tilda Swinton, Chiwetel Ejiofor, just truly amazing artists, I would say, not movie stars, artists. That just step in on that set, and they're as excited and amazed as you are when they when we all look at the set, and the location and everything, the design, and it's like, and still from the corner of my eye, I'm like watching them work, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just pinching myself and going like, this is such a privilege to just witness the process of those guys working, and that was hugely emphasized by the fact that they were all very available, very super kind, super just very open. I learned a lot from them, just directly from them, or just or watching them work. It's just that's something that I love to do. From the very first film that I did as an actor, I would just try and get the as much I would say experience or inspiration from more experienced actors that are on the set, because like sometimes big insights or even like small details. So yeah, that was it was just infinite. There's so much I could tell about the experience on Doctor Strange that would never fit in this interview. And the crew, that again, those are, top head of departments that you got right there. I mean, in Scott Derrickson and Jeff Habasad, who was the second unit director, just super passionate people. In the stunt team, we had like Jim Churchman and Mark Mottram that were on the film, and they're like the greatest people with wire work and any kind of stunts really. So for me, who had a stunt background, it was amazing to just cooperate with those people and think that's it's just again amazing to watch them work, to just to join in and do some great work together, and just not to forget makeup artist Jeremy Woodhead, who did the most amazing makeup, those eyes and everything else really, just mind blowing. And I would spend two hours every day, just like the other guys, having that makeup on the face, put on the face, so we had a whole routine there, and really building bonds, bonding with everyone, again, and the costumes, I'm sure you saw how the costumes were just beautifully made. Alexandra Byrne, it's just surrounded by this many masters, I would say, in their fields, and just everyone coming together to just make this Stanley vision come true in the film. It's just it was just really, really exciting, and it's everyone. And what the frustration I guess that I could have is just like there were so many people on this film that obviously you don't get to know everyone, you don't get to meet everyone. And I remember the crew screening in London. It's like I walked out of the screening, and I think I've recognized 2 or 3 people there. Everyone else was on the film, and I just didn't know them. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, there's the whole town, really. It's a whole town kind of coming to life to to build that project and make it. And then when it comes out, everyone just carries on, on their own roads. So super exciting, amazing, and it's that's the beauty of filmmaking, really.
Definitely, and it's been a funny thing for a long time, of course, because obviously a lot of fans stay through the credits to watch the scenes, and obviously as all those crew member credits, so many of them, and even it sounds like even you, as you were saying, you weren't able to meet all of them, and of course there's just so many. Even in the 7 months you were working on the film, you said even you couldn't meet them all.
exactly. I mean, those credits, they're just endless, endless. And I mean, obviously when you watch a film and you watch the credits at the end, you're kind of paying respect to the whole team and thinking, but this is like, God, this was like a 10 minutes long, end credits. But yeah, it's really impressive. It's really impressive. But that's a big lesson right there. You need a lot of people to make great work. You're just one wheel. You're just a wheel in the whole process. So it's very humbling. Yeah.
Definitely. It's really interesting to hear that you had finished watching Sherlock and Hannibal right before you got offered the role for Doctor Strange. You just have the strangest luck in that sort of sense. I mean, what next? What shows will you watch next, and then get to work with someone from that on? I wonder.
I mean, this is. I'm not gonna get woo woo about this whole thing, but I really, this is really strange. Like every time I think of something really strongly, or I love watching a show or a film, or next thing I hear is I'm either auditioning for another show or another film with that exact same person or that director, or it's like there's a very strange link every time. I believe they're not just coincidences, but I was going crazy watching Sherlock. I love that character, and I think Benedict did an amazing job with it. And when I was offered the part, I was like, shit, I'm sorry. I just, I had to, the thing is on the set, I had very few days on the set with Benedict because everything was, green screen. And so most of the scenes where we're chasing Strange were isolated, so the person that I got to spend, most time with, was Mads Mikkelsen and Zara Pithian, who was playing the Brune, because the Zealots were kind of like separated in two pairs following Mads. And so, we were in the same scenes. So spent a lot of time with Mads and, amazing time on set. And, but Benedict was like, just a few days out of 7 months. It's same thing, and I finished watching Hannibal maybe on that was after being offered the part. I was already watching it, and I finished watching it before the first day of rehearsals where I was meeting Mats. And I must say I was very nervous and intimidated, to meet him. I was like, is he? And actually, he was just the sweetest guy. He's just the sweetest and kindest person on earth. And that it just makes it so easy, really. Yeah.
That's great. Now, moving on from Doctor Strange, which role in your career have you found the most challenging so far, and why?
I would hesitate between two roles. That the first one I'd say would be that part in Chinese Zodiac. I was playing this guy called Vulture, and it's the Armor of God 3 in the series, in the saga of the Armor of God, and we're all Jackie Chan is playing like a thief, like a super high class, like a top thief, an international thief, something, and I was playing his rival, so I'm playing another thief, and again I was given so little information about the part and the film. Even though I was offered the part, they just told me, listen, you're going to play a thief. We want you to be like a really kind of how to say, like an isolated kind of lone wolf that just works alone, and completely antisocial guy, and who's like really obsessed with stealing a specific like a particular item, while Jackie's going to play this guy who just loves kind of working with a team and stealing objects and kind of enjoying life with his friends. And so it's like really two different approaches. And I spent a couple of months researching like just watching parts that kind of looked like that, or reading books of real of thieves that got in jail, went to jail, and then wrote a book about their own experience, and just trying to understand how they came to become, how they ended up doing what they did. That always fascinates me, that the people that I would say that judge the most or relate to the less, usually the most fascinating for me, because it's like, how the hell, what's the itinerary, what's the path that leads that person from a sensitive boy or girl, like from a very early age, and takes that person to a drastically different outcome. And yeah, so I did that for a few months. And in parallel, I trained really hard to get back in shape, martial arts wise and everything. And I prepared, much more than I actually, I did have to prepare, but when I got on board and I was on set, I think that the very challenging thing was to just not be intimidated by Jackie Chan. And then we had this scene where I had to provoke him, in a very arrogant way. And I was like, really? I'm going to have to say that line, and I'm going to have to be very confident about it. So that very first day was very challenging for me, because I had to build that confidence very, very quickly, and kind of, be arrogant and almost insulting in my attitude, and just find that character, and be free with that, it wasn't really a challenge. It was a great fun to do that. But another role that was a great challenge for me is a much smaller film. It's actually a short film called Toro. It's a French short film, and I had to play a rugby player in that. And I had never touched a rugby ball before in my life. So and I had 3 weeks to prepare for that. So again, I started with the physical preparation. I had to gain some weight to be like a little more credible as a rugby player, and I had to get the basics, because I was supposed to play the captain of a world champion team. So yeah, very little time to be credible for that. But at the end, the experience was amazing. We had a great, very small but great team, very passionate people, and it was very challenging, because it was a very, very, I would say, different person than I am, because it's like it was a very kind of aggressive guy, very he's compared to a bull in the film. So he's like just very organic, very animal, very and he's like he has an accident, and he doesn't accept the fact that he can't play anymore. And it was really hard, because I had to kind of imagine, what if the same happened to me? What if I had an accident that had me to stop martial arts and kind of give up on my athlete career, so to speak. It was really interesting. It was a challenging one, because it was I wouldn't be able to describe it, but it turned out really well, and I'm still very, very proud of that film and that performance. But yeah, nothing you'd see in the theaters. It's just it's a short film. But yeah, that says a lot about it's not about the budget or the proportions. It's about the storytelling, really. So.
Yeah, and the experience as well, not just the
Exactly, exactly. Well, how you're telling the story on the set every day, how you're going to tell that 1 minute bit of the story, that's going to, fit into the puzzle, the whole, the bigger picture. But the performance, and that's. And again, you can't do that on your own. You can't do that by yourself. You need people to guide you and direct you, and be there by your side, and you being there by their side as well. It's not a lonely job. You're constantly, if you don't ask for help, if you don't like help, you're that's not the right job for you. That's not the job for you. You gotta accept that and kind of go with it. So, but you're right. Yeah, the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can only imagine how challenging it would be to take on an acting role that involved playing rugby and having never touched a rugby ball before.
Yeah. When I had like those. It was a 1 week training with this national professional team, and when I went to meet with them for the first time, seriously, it was really hard. It was really hard because those guys are, they were very nice, but you got to break the ice, because it can be either way. It can go either. They can be very super nice with you. They can let you join the team, or I would say the herd more than the team, or they can keep you out of it. That's how they play, And I think, again, the martial arts background, they didn't know about, my kind of sports background, but my martial arts kind of, I would say, instinct helped me on that, because they were kind of playing it in a pretty intimidating, note at the beginning, and some of them would just stand up and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm an actor too. I can act. I can do this. I can do that." And then it was pretty hard initially. The discipline wasn't there, and the director was like struggling, to just keep it all together. But then, I don't know, something clicked. We did the first kind of physical. It was like a rugby training that we had to film, and we did this first action. And we're just connecting right away, after that take, that just went, "Oh, it was pretty good out there." It was, what's your background? What'd you do? What'd you play before? Have you done any of this before? And you're like, "No, not rugby, but other things, yeah." But it was just, just to step on that set that first day. It was like, I just felt like, ooh, man, I'm getting challenged here, and it can be pretty hostile, but, once you pass, the first kind of wall, everything's fine, and you get, help from everywhere. But yeah, the rugby aspect of it, was, I was quite scared at the beginning, but then it ended up, again, it was all fun at the end.
That's great to hear. Now, my final question for you, Alaa, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
There's one role that I've worked on since Doctor Strange that I just finished filming last week, both in London and Rome, and it's called American Assassin, and it's an action thriller directed by Michael Cuesta. And it's based on Vince Flynn's novel on the same name, and it stars Dylan O'Brien, Michael Keaton, Taylor Kitsch, and it was I played this guy called Javid, who's the Iranian Minister of Defense's right hand guy, let's say, who does kind of all the dirty work for him. And it was a different one, it was an action thriller, but with this part, for example, I wasn't doing anything, physical, when it comes to either fighting or action wise. But it was a really interesting one for me to play. I'm not sure I can say much about it, but it's, I'm sure it's going to come out at the end of next year. it was a wonderful experience. Very different, obviously, from Doctor Strange. Different film, but just some great brains behind this film, and again, another team work and other big actors, big artists, just to learn from and to work with. So it was great. That's American Assassin. Other projects coming soon that I'm waiting for answers. So I'm not able to say anything about it yet. But I'm very excited to get to the point where I can. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'll be sure to keep an eye out to hear more about American Assassin in any case.
Great. Yeah. So will I.
Definitely. So that's all of my questions for you, Alaa. Thank you for answering them, and I'll let my co-host Máirín ask hers.
All right. Thank you, Rory.
Hello.
Hey there.
So, jumping straight into the questions, my first question is, Doctor Strange is such a visual effects heavy film. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on there with, like, the green screens and everything like that. So, what was that like for you as an actor to perform in a space like that, where you shown any kind of references to things you were supposed to be seeing, or they just completely leave it up to yourself?
Well, the first thing is, so your first question, it's I mean, the whole, just to how to say, it's the whole, I mean, the visual effects, how to say, well, I don't know. It's not how to say, it's where to start, because there's so much there. Obviously, it was a lot of green screen, a lot of, and you could easily get, be lost, feel lost, or, and especially since you're never filming things in the right order. And again, there's so much happening as you saw the film, in each frame, really, The great thing is, I mean, we were all very, very kind of guided and, surrounded and, taking through the thing step by step. And the easiest thing really was that there was a previs existing on set, that we were just, the director and everyone would just refer to that and go like, okay, this that we're working on right now. And they would play it in a loop and go, okay, this is exactly what we're supposed to do, and then if anyone wants to propose something or kind of a variation that kind of maybe works better or anything, but most, they would just do it. But most of the time, we'd just stick to exactly what the previous was showing. And so, yeah, it was very, very simple. And still, I mean, some actors don't like green screen because it can be quite a, sometimes, some actors like to be on set and kind of see things and feel, if you want to be outside if you're in a scene where you're cold and it's nighttime, you don't want to be in a green screen room that's warm with 100 people around you. But I don't mind that. I like that, actually. I like the fact that, it's all green around, and you look at the previs and, you're like, okay, well, everything around me is going, is kind of, is broken and flying around and all that, but still I can understand that, but that's never happened in my life, so I'm still going to have to come up with, what my, an equivalent that works for me. So you're still working with your imagination, and that's what I love about it, because no one has to know what I'm thinking or visualizing as I'm, running or or fighting or jumping at some point, or if I'm looking in the strangest direction, or I like that freedom, that space that's kind of left for you to play with. Because you can easily spend your whole day. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the set, and every day it can be a unique, experience where you just step on that, same green screen room, and still it's going to be a different world. It's a different scene. It's a different action. It's a different timing. It's a different rhythm. And you can. I like to go into my world and think, and imagine all sorts of crazy things. I'm not saying I'm imagining a T-Rex, running behind me, but still, like you can easily do your own thing, and it still works. Sometimes it even helps. So that was, as acting and performance wise, that was what I could say about it. And the references are definitely the previous. There was very and also some pictures or kind of art design, concept art that we kind of had seen before we started filming. And if you had a doubt, you had at least you had hundreds of people around you that could ask any of your questions. So it was pretty easy.
Yeah, no, it's always been like something that I've wondered with films like that, where so much of it is done in post, and you're just kind of like, I wonder if they know what they're meant to be looking at. But yeah, I'd never heard of the concept of a previs or anything like that before, so that was really interesting. Thank you very much. My second question is, what was your first impression when you first stood on set of Doctor Strange and getting to see all the huge big like camera rigs and the massive green screens and all stuff like that? Like what was running through your mind?
Well, I would say that the technical aspect of it, I had, I was lucky enough to be on big sets before to see, big machines, but nothing like this. This was just huge. And again, besides the amount of people, it's just, the amount of rooms, the amount of studios that were involved, and we'll shoot in different studios, even different areas of suburbs. And yeah, it's I think the first time that I stepped on the set, the very first day was the very first scene, opening scene, which is Carmichage's library, and the killing of the librarian. And that, I remember you just walking in, and that wasn't a green screen room. That was like a fully built library, dressed, and more than dressed, like dusty, amazingly looking books. Some of them could be real, some of them would be fake, but like just the detail, the attention to detail that was there. It was. That was immensely helpful. I was really impressed. I was really, really impressed. And yeah, it was like also the atmosphere. Like the amount of concentration. Everyone was so busy with what they were doing, and and you're like. It was a true, it was amazing. It was just so exciting. That library, that was the first set. And then I remember the New York Sanctum was just also like another beautiful piece, of production design. Charles Wood did an amazing work on this film. And yeah, you could spend your whole day, like all the gaps. They say acting is waiting. You're on a set. You spend your whole time waiting around for the next take. There wasn't a single time where I got bored on set. Seriously, there was so much to, you could take a walk around and get on another set that was being built and just, look at the temple, for example, that was being built next door, and then you get back to the sanctum, and then it was just like it was, you can ask millions of questions, and you would always get answers, and it was a truly, it was an amazing learning experience, filmmaking school, experience really. So that was
like. I remember even when I watched the film myself being incredibly impressed with the libraries and how everything looked and like stuff like that. So yeah, no, it seems like it'd be a really exciting kind of environment to step into and to get to work on.
Oh yeah.
So My final question for you is, what was the most challenging scene for you to perform in Doctor Strange?
If there was any challenging scene, I mean, it was so much fun that I would say challenging. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. It's I think the most challenging thing for me on this film was the pre-filming, really. You know, it was everything before, you know, before this experience, you know, became real, you know, before if it became a reality for me, was to try and imagine the whole thing, and, you know, like being so excited to join a Marvel film. I mean, you know, like that's like, even just to say it, I still can't believe it. You know, it's a childhood dream that's come true, and yeah, I think the most challenging thing was to just keep it cool, just keep cool, and think, you know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it's, you know, and I would say I was nervous. I was maybe scared before, you know, because it's like, am I going to do a good job? Am I going to, you know, I want it to be a good experience, you know. And as soon as I was called in on the first day of rehearsals and meeting people, it became real, and everything kind of just was lifted, you know. It became easy, became fun. It became, you know, it was just all about curiosity and experimenting stuff, and just, you know, kind of, again, just looking at every night, looking forward to the next morning and thinking, you know, I look forward to this scene, to this, you know, to discovering this new set or that set, or, you know, oh, this guy or that woman that I haven't met yet, and we're going to do this crazy scene together. Or, you know, even that scene, the fight scene with Tilda, you know, we started rehearsing with Tilda, and, you know, it was like, it was so playful, you know. She's such a playful actress, you know. She plays with what she has, and it immediately communicated, you know, the same thing to the whole room. You know, we all we had the most, you know, biggest amount of fun, you know, doing that scene at the end. Even, you know, she would come from a dialogue scene with main unit and join us in second unit and say, oh, I was tired of talking. I just wanted to get to the fighting things, you know, and I just wanted to kick and jump, and we were just like around her, just like, yeah, you know, let's do this, you know. And here we are, you know, we've been working so hard for this, and yeah, and yet you see what she does with everything, be it the fight scenes or, you know, all the, you know, the dialogue scenes, and tremendously amazing, you know, work. So yeah, all this to say that it wasn't challenging in a sense of like difficult, really, because again, you know, like playing this character, the Tall Zealot, was there wasn't anything very psychological about it, or, you know, that you needed to kind of come up with a, you know, character building, or at least not much. But it was more about just kind of stepping in and forgetting about the fact that you're doing a job, you know, or you're just having fun, and people are helping you and paying you to have fun, you know. So I think it would almost be inappropriate for me to say that any of it was challenging. It was all like more than a gift, really. Great present. And yeah, I think this experience, you know, as well as the other films that I've, you know, that I've done so far, they just keep telling me how much, you know, just keep reminding me of the fact that acting is a game. You know, you're playing with a character, you're playing with the people that come up, and, you know, you prepare seriously, but you show up on set and you play, and, you know, there's nothing difficult, really. You know, there's I guess challenging is the right word. You know, it challenges you. You know, it challenges you, and I like that because it sends me back to, you know, kind of competitions and tournaments and sports. You're like, okay, you know, I take that challenge, and I will take it, and I will grow as a result. You know, I will learn from it, and this is going to become one more string, you know, to my, you know, guitar art. I don't know, but yeah, that's yeah.
Awesome. So that's the last of my questions for you, Alaa. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand you back over to Ruari now.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions.
That's all of our questions for you today, Alaa. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Lovely. It's been a pleasure for me too, and an honor. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, I had a good time.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Hopefully we can talk to you again at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be very happy to. So yeah, just I'm here. So I look forward to that.
That's great. So we'll talk to you again soon then, and thanks again for joining us today. Take
Right.
care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Rory. Cheers.
So yeah, make sure to check out our podcast links. Check out our website, website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official-everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comiccast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/Septus Maureen's is www.youtube.com/user/LameWolf Check out Alaa Safi on Twitter, twitter.com/Alaa Safi, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
Like, wow, I'm like, yeah, dude, let's play, come check it out. And then it became not so much an escape from detention, but it just sort of like became like, okay, this could be the thing that I do. This could be my thing. So, but yeah, I don't.
And so I knew that there was something epic was going to happen, some kind of conflict. So that was all I knew. When I eventually did get it, to tell you the truth, all credit goes to Christos and Ruth